Hello viewers, I decided to take the camera and film this video for you. In few words, I'm working on this BMW F10 with the N55 engine, and the customer complaint is that the car has problem with the Valvetronic. So let me show you briefly. I have used my diagnostic tool to do certain type of tests about testing the Valvetronic system, but each one of them are failing, and the diagnostic tool is stating that the Valvetronic is stucking. So that's why we're going to remove everything: the valve cover, the injectors, the ignition coils, the piping, and yeah, the installation should come out. As you can see, I have removed the plastic trims, decorational covers, and we're going to check how the old Eccentric shaft and the old Valvetronic motor, which actually this car has a Valvetronic generation 3 system in this engine N55. So this is a really common issue with these engines N55 and N20. Most of the time the electrical motor for the Valvetronic is failing, so BMW is always recommending to change the Valvetronic unit, the electrical motor, the Eccentric shaft, plus the oil nozzle, which I'm going to show you later in the video. So I'm just about to start removing the fuel injectors, but before that, just a few words. This engine is the newer type of N55s, but if you want to remove your injectors, you're going to need a tool like this. And actually there are two types of this tool. This is for the older N55s and this is for the newer ones. So this is what I'm going to use now. But if you have the older type of N55, you're going to need a tool like this. Also a torque wrench, which is really delicate, from 2 to 5 Newton meters, because when you are undoing or reinstalling the injectors, you're going to need to apply, if I remember right, 2 or 3 Newton meters when you reinstall them in the holes. So just quickly going to show you how I'm going to remove them. So I have installed the tool, I have tightened up the both bolts, which is originally holding the bracket which is holding the injectors, and I have screwed the tool in the injectors. So now we're going to rotate this bigger nut on the clockwise rotation, which means on the right, and the thing which BMW is recommending, if the torque range exceeds 5 Newton meters when you are undoing the injector, you're supposed to throw out the injector and replace it with a brand new one. So now I'm going to start undo the injector, and we're going to see are we going to exceed 5 Newton meters. So I'm just using a 24mm socket for doing this job. Yeah, this is not a regular torque wrench, it doesn't have that teeth on it. So hopefully you guys are seeing how the injector is pulling out. So yeah, pretty much I believe I can continue by hand. So yeah, this injector is out. We're going to continue with the second one, and here you're going to need to do this 2 injectors at a time. And this one is getting out. Actually this one is a little bit more stuck. And yeah, as we can see, this one is clicking. So I believe we're going to need to replace this injector in this case, because this is not supposed to happen. And yeah, just what I was saying, that as we can see, while I'm removing it, we are exceeding 5 Newton meters. Okay, so now I'm going to undo the both bolts. And this is how they look like, the both of them. I'm going to continue with the other 4 injectors. The process is going to be pretty much the same. Okay, so the valve cover is out with everything else, the injectors, the fuel rail, the fuel lines, the coils, and everything else. And pretty much this is what we have underneath. As we can see, this is the Valvetronic, this is the Valvetronic motor, and this is the Eccentric valve which we are aiming for to be removed. And I'm kind of surprised about the internals of the engine, because I was not expecting to see a lot of sluggish inside, because Actually, this car, as I told you, is around 120,000 kilometers, which is not a lot. And I don't remember from where the owner got it, but I'm servicing this car for around 30,000 kilometers, and we are servicing the car on every 10,000 kilometers. And still, as we can see, there is a lot of sluggish on the springs. So yeah, not sure what happened, but probably the previous owner has serviced the car on every 30,000 kilometers. Maybe this is the reason why the engine is looking like that, so dirty inside, because I have seen engines on much higher mileage with much better looking internals, and yeah, this doesn't look very promising. But now I'm going to continue with the disassembly of the eccentric valve and the Valvetronic unit motor with the internal sensors. We're going to remove the oil nozzle for the gears, and yeah, I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. I know you can remove the eccentric valve without removing the springs, but in my opinion it's not recommended. I know you can undo only the bolts which is holding the eccentric valves, but when you install a eccentric valve with the value of 1000 euro, I don't think it's recommended to install it with the springs installed in place. So that's why I'm going to do it how it's supposed to be done. For this I'm going to use this special tool. This is made especially for removing the springs on the Valvetronic. So I'm briefly going to show you how it works. It's pretty straightforward, nothing crazy. So just quickly, the idea of the tool, as we can see, we have this screw on the top, and when you screw it down, you can see that these clamps here are going to get closer to this part of the tool, like that, and this is going to lock the spring in place, and it's not going to allow it to go anywhere. So this is the idea of this screw here. These ledges here are meant for the downside of the spring, so let me show you where they go. So once again, this screw here is going to hold this part of the spring on the top of the spring. So I'm going to need to move this notch like that, and now when I start screwing down here, this is going to lock the upper part of the tool to the spring like that, and now it's not going anywhere. And let me show you. As you can see, the bottom part of the tool is, the ledge of the bottom part of the tool is exactly on the bottom part of the spring like that. So it's the same on the both sides. Yeah, here it's a little bit hard to film it, but hopefully you guys can seeing it. And now the only thing that I need to do is to compress the tool like that. And now it's locked because we have a notch there. It's right here, this notch. When the tool is attached like that, I'm just going to take a socket with E8, and I'm going to undo the bolt which is on the top. This bolt is not really tight there, so it's pretty straightforward, like so. And now I'm just moving the notch like that, and I'm going to need to undo the screw here, like so. And now I can remove the tool. So now the spring is completely free and we can take it out. So this is the spring. So I'm going to redo this on the other 5 springs, and this is going to release the tension on the eccentric shaft. So after removing all the springs, I have just left this one because it's a little bit hard to remove it because of the worm gear, but it's not big of a deal. I'm going to leave it there for now. We're going to need to remove this stopper here, which is with the socket 11. So I'm just going to undo it. I already cracked it loose, so I'm just going to remove it. So to be able to rotate the eccentric shaft a little bit further. And now with 4mm Allen key, I believe it was called, we're going to rotate the Valvetronic motor. There is just enough room to fit Allen key here and we're going to rotate it, and it's a good idea to hold it with hands, because if you leave it, it's going to start rotated by itself, and you can break something like that. So it's a good idea to use some force when you are rotating the eccentric shaft, especially when it's brand new. In our case, still it's not, but now I believe this is the original place, which was the end position of the eccentric shaft, but because we have removed the stopper once again, we're going to be able to rotate it further until it's out of our place. So like so. So we're going to put some force with key here, and this is going to give us enough room to remove the Valvetronic unit, which is held with 3 bolts. So yeah, we're going to crack them loose. The idea is to be able to rotate the motor out of the way of the eccentric shaft. That's why we have removed the stopper bolt. This is going to give us enough room to do it. This is the third bolt. Okay, so I took a wrench, and yeah, this is 13mm. And I can easily rotate the eccentric shaft out of our way. If we had springs here, it's going to be much more harder, and it's going to be required to have one more person to hold it, because you can break your fingers here. But now without the springs it's not so dangerous, so I can do it only holding it with one hand. It's not so hard. And this is the motor. So I'm going to return the shaft like that, so to not have any tension. And this is how to remove the motor. Now we're going to continue with the removal of the eccentric shaft. So after the removal of the motor, now we're going to continue with the removal of the caps of the eccentric shaft. I have just cracked them loose of the bolts. And once again, if you want to do it by your own risk, you can use longer bolts than this. And this is going to allow you to install the eccentric shaft without removing the springs if you don't have the special tool. I know it's possible, but if you have the tool, it's much more easier and much more safe. And here we're going to see the needle bearings, which are installed here, which we're going to use a new ones here, of course. When you are changing this shaft, you always need to change these bearings, and they are not so extremely expensive, not like the shaft itself. Okay, this is the last cap, and the shaft is pretty much ready to get out. And this is it with all the 6 needle bearings, which we're going to replace, of course. So a few days later, everything came up. So this is the Valvetronic shaft. This is some oil gases hose, which I found out that is broken. So this one. So we're going to change it. It comes with some sensor on it. This is the bolts for the shaft itself. This is the bolts for the springs, which I took some time to clean them up, because as we saw previously, they were looking kind of disgusting, so I decided to clean them. This is the decoupling rings for the injectors, which this is the old injectors. And actually I didn't film everything, but it turns out that 5 out of 6 came up with work really cocked up. And as I told you in the manual, if the injectors are cocked up, you're going to need to replace them. So only on cylinder number 1 the injector came up under the spec value for the torque spec, and all of the other were pretty cocked up inside, so we need to force them out of the holes, so this means that we're going to need to change them, and yeah, we decided with the owner to change all 6 of them, so to not have only one out here, so we decided to buy 6 new injectors. This is the bearings for the shaft, 6 in total, and this is the Valvetronic motor unit and everything else, and yeah, this is the gasket for the cover, and this is the gaskets for this box there for the injectors. So I'm going to open up everything and going to show you what we have inside. But yeah, we took only the coupling rings for the injectors because the new injectors came with this Teflon ring already installed, so we are not going to need it. But if you are reusing your old injectors, you're going to need this Teflon ring. You're going to need to buy a new one here. So yeah, we are not going to need it. And yeah, I bought a new cap. Yeah, this is the new cap for the Valvetronic unit. And yeah, this is the oil nozzle which I was talking about. So I take the bearings out for the shaft. The shaft came in pretty interesting packaging, because if you guys ever bought a new camshaft from BMW, you're going to know how they came. But yeah, this shaft is much more fragile, so it's normal to have a little bit better packaging than this. And yeah, nothing else inside, only the shaft itself. This is how it looks like. Brand new one. We have some QR code here, and yeah, the teeth are perfect, of course. And this is the where the BMW is stamped here. So here it's BMW stamped. And let me show you the Valvetronic unit. So this is the box. Came in this, like you are buying a video card, something like that. But it's normal because it has a lot of electrical stuff in it. So this is it. And yeah, the both gears should match perfectly, like so. So okay, let me show you one of the injectors. Okay, it has some protection for not opening. So this is one of the injectors. Oops, sorry guys. And as I told you, the new injector comes with a new Teflon ring, as we can see here, which I'm going to compress even more, because I have a special tool for this, which I highly recommend you to have one, because you can damage this Teflon ring, and after that you're going to have some hard time searching on your issue with misfiring. So yeah, this is how a brand new injector looks like. As I told you, you're just going to need a new decoupling rings, which are installed here. They are not so cheap actually. I believe one of them were around 10 or 15 euro, so they are kind of expensive. So yeah, let me show you just the oil nozzle. So it's really gentle, you can really easily bend this. So this is how it looks like, the new one which we are going to use. Okay, so something important when installing the bearings for the eccentric shaft, for the installation of the needle bearings. Once again, we have bought 6 of them, brand new ones, OEM ones, and this is the 6 caps which are holding the eccentric shaft to the cylinder head. So as we can see, all the needle bearings have shells on them. So this is the both shells, and when we're installing it, they're going to look something like that. So one of the shell is going to the cylinder head, and the other shell, of course, is going to install it on the cap. And yeah, there is no matter where each shell it goes. Doesn't matter, this shell can go on the cap or on the cylinder head, they are identical. And the other thing which is important, if you are changing this bearing, the needle bearing, you always need to change the shells. You should not use or reuse the old shells, And yeah, pretty obvious, the new ones are coming with the shells. So what is the point to use the old shells? So yeah, once again we have this notch on the top which is locating the shell in place. So now we're going to continue with the installation of the other ones. Once again I'm going to use only one of the shells, and I'm going to position them on the same way that we're going to install them in the car. So this is going to be the first one, and I have installed actually on all the cups. There is numbering like here, and we have 6 cups in total, so the cups are numbered from 1 to 6, so you cannot mess them up. And here the lettering is pointing upwards, so I'm just going to place the cup number 1 with this bearing like that. So cup number 2 is going like that with this bearing, and this one, and this. Now I'm going to install the rest of the shells on the cylinder head, so to not mess them up. And after that we're going to install the bearings, the needle bearings on the eccentric shaft. Okay, so now we're going to install the rest of the shells on the cylinder head. Once again, you need to take in mind the notch on the top of the shell. You need to guide it in the hole. And yeah, I already have removed the old shells. I didn't film this, but I have removed them. Once again, I have sorted all the bearing shells, so to not mess them their places. Actually, I'm not 100% sure is it going to be an issue if you randomly install the shells on different places, because all the bearings are brand new and this is needle bearings, so it should not be end of the day. But yeah, I'm always try to be cautious about it and install them like that. And this is what I mean when the both shells are facing each other. It should be looking like that. So yeah, this is it with the both shells installed in place. So now let's continue with the installation of the needle bearings on the eccentric shaft, for which I'm going to use assembly loop, of course, because it's a good idea to loop this. I believe in the repair manual of BMW they are recommending to put some engine oil on them, but yeah, I'm going to use assembly loop. I think it's much better. The eccentric shaft once again, and this is the cups from 1 to 6. So once again, the needle bearing is going to go on the first, let's say, bearing surface, which is here. So cylinder number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you need to be extra careful when installing this, because these bearings, needle bearings, can break down really easy. So let me use the assembly loop and start installing them. Okay, so I have attached all of the caps of the eccentric shaft with the new bolts, and now I'm going to start to torquing them up. So the torque spec for the bolt for the eccentric shaft is exactly 8.5 Newton meters. So I'm going to tighten up this eccentric shaft like I'm torquing a normal camshaft, which means I'm going to start from the inside and little by little going to go to the outside. It's much more easier to install this eccentric shaft while the springs are not here, like in our case, of course. So after torquing these bolts, I'm going to install the springs. So 8.5 Newton meters is not a lot. It's really interesting. I was expecting these bolts to be 10 Newton meters, but yeah, BMW have decided that 8.5 is enough. And the last two caps. Okay, like that. All the bolts are torqued. In total 12 bolts. So now we're going to continue with the installation of the Valvetronic unit. For this, I'm just going to press the eccentric shaft until I'm able to install this stopper bolt, which is going to move the gear out of our way to install the Valvetronic unit. So let me see, am I going to be able to do it with, or actually let me take a wrench here, and I'm going to use the wrench. It's going to be much more easier. Okay, so like that. Okay, so the eccentric shaft now is out of our way. I have cleaned with compressed air the threads of the unit, the Valvetronic unit. So now I'm going to install the unit. Before that, I'm going to put a little bit of assembly loop on the teeth. Like that. I'm going to put a little bit on the eccentric shaft. Like that. Now I'm just going to place it. After that, rotate it, and now I'm going to attach the 3 bolts. So torque spec for the Valvetronic unit is 10 Newton meters. Okay, like that. I'm going to remove the stopper bolt, and we're going to rotate a little bit the eccentric shaft until we engage the teeth on the Valvetronic unit. But before that, I'm going to take Allen key, which I believe it was number 4 or 5. Okay, so it's Allen key number 4. Just going to place it here. Once again, I'm just going to rotate a little bit the eccentric shaft so it won't hit my fingers, and going to remove. Hopefully you guys are seeing the stopper bolt once again, so to be able to rotate the eccentric shaft, so to be able to attach the teeth of the eccentric shaft to the Valvetronic unit, like so. And now slowly I'm going to rotate it until they engage, like that. And now with the rotating of the Allen key, I'm going to push up the eccentric shaft. Okay, like that. And now I'm going to reinstall the stopper bolt. Yeah, I'm not replacing this bolt because I don't think it's a must. But I'm going to need to rotate it more. So I'm going to rotate it until I hit the other stopper bolt on the other side. Like that. And actually this removes the spring from the rocker arms, the spring effect from the rocker arms, which is trying to push up the eccentric shaft back in its place. So I'm going to torque the stopper bolt to 10 Newton meters. Like that. Let me put a little bit more assembly loop on the teeth. Like that. And now I'm going to return the Valvetronic to the rest position, which is on the other side. Even without the springs, the Allen key is rotating almost by itself. Okay, so this is the end position, and just to show you, we are hitting the stopper bolt there. So yeah, this is how we're going to leave the eccentric shaft pretty much like that till the end. And now it's time to install the springs, and as I told you, I have tried to clean them as good as possible. I think they look much better than before. So once again, going to use this special tool. This is the new bolts which we're going to install. These bolts, we're going to torque them to 10 Newton meters. So let's install these springs one by one. And yeah, in the end, we need to don't forget to install oil nozzle for the both gears. Okay, I have installed 5 out of 6 springs for the Valvetronic. Now I'm going to install the last one. And yeah, I decided to leave the front one because you can see it a little bit better. I already showed you what is happening, but I decided to record the last one. So I'm going to do it like that, and after that with a special tool I'm going to attach the tool on the top of the spring. Like that. Now I'm just going to squeeze it, and I'm going to use the new bolt. Like that. It's going to make sure that I have aligned the spring in the rocker arms of the eccentric shaft, because if you are out of their places, you're going to have some issues after that. I'm going to torque up the bolt to 10 Newton meters. Okay, 10 Newton meters. I'm going to release the tool. And pretty much this is the process of installing the springs. Yeah, the sixth one is really hard because the installation is on my way, but it's not impossible to install it if you have a helping hand. So this is the process of installing the springs. All the bolts are torqued to 10 Newton meters. So I just want to point out something important when installing the springs. When installing the springs, it's really important the bottom part of the spring to get precisely in this case, in this motor, we have horizontal and vertical rocker arms. In this case, the end of the spring should align in the vertical rocker arm, as we can see here. So you need to make sure that all the ends of all the springs are aligning perfectly. Here is a little bit dark to show you, but are aligning perfectly in the vertical rocker arms. Because if you don't do this, you're going to have some hard time after that with some really strange noises coming out of the engine. And it's really easy to miss this detail. I had some issues installing the spring number 4 because of the teeth on the eccentric shaft, but yeah, I managed to do it. So keep in mind that this is really important when installing these springs. You need to aim them exactly in the fork of the vertical rocker arm. And yeah, I forget to end up this installation with the installation of the oil nozzle. Okay, so this is the hole for the bolt, and we should aim it. So like that. This bolt should be torqued to 10 Newton meters. Let me see. Is it installed correctly? And yes, it is. Okay, so 10 Newton meters. Like that. So pretty much this is the whole installation once again. The springs, the oil nozzle, the motor, and the shaft with the bearings and the bearing shells. I know some people are removing these bridges here, but I don't think it's necessary. If you remove the springs, it's not so hard to install the shaft. The Valvetronic rocker arms is not giving a lot of leverage, so yeah, I don't think it's so hard to install it like that. So let me install the rest, and we're going to continue from there. Okay guys, I have forgot to press the record button for the first initial crank up and start up of the car, so sorry about this. So pretty much everything is assembled. I have already started up the car. I'm going to start it for you guys to hear it how it sounds. So just to show you that the car starts pretty fast. And we don't have any fault codes and stuff. No check engine lights. So let me show you in the vehicle status, vehicle information, vehicle status, and check control. Yeah, bonnet open, door open, and washer fluid level. Yeah, we're going to need to top it up. So let me show you in the diagnostic tool. Once again, I'm using the good old launch for this. Actually, the Valvetronic didn't need any teaching process or anything like that, like adaptation or anything like that. I just primed up the fuel and the car started up right away without any issues, with a smooth idle. Pretty much this was it. The crank time actually was kind of long. I was not expecting this, but yeah, in the end the car started up after the third attempt of starting the car, but now it's running fine, smooth, without any issues. And let me show you, just to show you that I'm in the ECM DME. Just take a second. Okay, and fault codes, and we have no fault codes. I know I previously didn't record the fault code that we were getting, but I was getting Valvetronic stuck or something like that, I believe it was. I'm going to put it in this description, and the fault code was permanent. I was trying to clear the fault codes, but I was not able to do it. The fault code was coming back right up, so I was not able to clear it. And now, as we can see, we don't have any fault codes. I don't have battery on my camera, so I'm going to film it with my phone. So as we can see, after we changed the Valvetronic and everything else, now we're going to do the startup Valvetronic procedure, teach-in process procedure of the Valvetronic. So I'm going to hit continue right here. So okay, I'm just going to put ignition on. Okay, engine off, ignition on. So now we're going to delete all the values. In other words, we're going to reset the adjustments. So continue. So now I guess we're going to need to wait. Let me turn off the AC, because I don't want to kill the battery. And now we're going to wait until the main relay is deactivated. So it's going to be a little bit hard to see it on camera, but I guess the illuminating white on the start stop button should be not present, and then we're going to continue. Okay, so after around 1 minute, now I'm going to turn the ignition on once again, and let's continue. So as we can see, the limit position are taught in the next steps. So yeah, I think I'm hearing some things that are wiggling around under the bonnet. So now continue. So I'm going to start up the car.
Здравей.
Здравейте.
Набрах пътя по телефона. Светна ми лампата и викам, тук свети да мина да е...
Добре, ще доста малко. Да, добре. So as we can see, we're going to do 450 cycles, and this is the countdown, while the engine is on idle, as we can see. So let's wait them to finish up, and we're going to continue from there. Okay, so we are almost done. We're going to wait for the few cycles, and probably we're going to need to turn off the engine once again. So let's see what's going to happen. So we're going to need to wait 50 trouble-free cycles, in maximum between 2 or 10 minutes. I guess we're going to make it in the lowest count, 2 minutes, because one cycle is pretty much 1 second, as we can see right now here. Okay, intake successfully completed. Stop engine. Let's continue. Service function finished, and pretty much this should be it. Let me start up the car, and let's see how it runs. Butter smooth in my opinion. So yeah, I believe this should be the teaching process. And now, yeah, I guess this is going to be the adaptation. So yeah, pretty much this is it. I'm going to end up the video here. I hope it's helpful for some of you that are struggling with this Valvetronic saga. I know it's kind of bizarre engineering, but this is the only way to go with low emissions and high power engine like this. So when the car is running fine without any fault codes and issues, this engine is providing a real pleasure to drive it, but I know it's really expensive to maintain it. So it's not for everyone, of course, but if you can afford to run an engine like this, yeah, I think in some cases it's totally worth it. So okay guys, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.